Hey guys, this is Jordan Peterson. Clean your room, wash your penis. Fuck, why did I do that?
Alright, what's up guys? I'm here with my boy.
What's up?
And we are driving in the middle of an undisclosed location. We're going to Chick-fil-A right now, and this is the perfect time for a podcast and getting into a car accident. So, from my cursory view of your ideology, we touched on this last podcast, but you said that you, I take it that you are an anti-industrialist?
I wouldn't really say that. I'd say I'm more of a, and this is interesting, I'd say I'm not an anti-industrialist, but I'm an anti-human scale-ist, I guess. And what I mean by that is I think, we should structure society in a way that is conducive to human scale. And the reason why I think that is because, the way society, architecture, buildings, all of this stuff is built it's psychologically kind of it's not built to mesh with human psychology. For instance, people really can only have empathy for a few hundred people. Our brains are designed to.
Yeah, we can only really know. I've heard it's like 300, something like that.
Yeah.
Like the amount of people that would live within a village.
Yeah, it's like somewhere between 300 to 500. I'm not sure, but it's not important. What is important is that we're designing a society that's basically antithetical to how human psychology is built, and this is making people very unhappy and very pretty lost in the world. And I think it's pretty solvable, or not maybe solvable. It might be too late to go back, but we can take measures for sure to at least remedy this to a certain degree, right? And so yeah, I guess that's my position on it.
Chick-fil-A zesty buffalo sauce. And I got my large fry. Pretty good. Basically what you want to do is you want to put the fry in the sauce.
Let's get a close up on that again. The fry and the sauce.
How's that?
Yes.
I don't know what yours is on industrialism, but
Well, I think I'm gonna be honest. I think I'm gonna piss off a few of the end prims on here, but industrialization and its consequences have been a benefit to the human race. And here's why I say that. You have to understand where the Industrial Revolution came from. Historically, it comes from, I'd say, a chain of events which arguably, when you look at the rest of history, maybe shouldn't have happened. And it all culminated with Britain deciding, hey, we're going to start deregulating companies. We're going to stop taxing the hell out of everybody, and we're going to allow people to have more freedom. And not in the modern 60s Marxist sense of freedom, but a freedom with enshrined responsibility, a freedom which you could define as the ability to reach, I guess, actualization, or be able to reach a fulfilled state of humanity, and not be held back not in any or not be held back by the state. So that happened. You had basically a free market form within Britain, for lack of a better term. And once this free market formed, it's amazing. You see just rampant advances in technology. The Newcomen engine. I mean, the steam engine, that's one of the biggest ones, but windmills, tons of different labor-saving devices, because people no longer relied on things like slavery, in forms of slavery, to get what they wanted. And in the system of order in that time frame relied more on human freedom than on the use of force. So this revolution, they call it the Industrial Revolution, I'd call it the free market revolution, pretty much created a society which was a more moral society than ones that had existed before it. In that, I mean, as I said, like, morality was more consistently applied. Theft is wrong. Forcing innocent people to conform to your will, like threatening people with force, innocent people with force to do your will, that's wrong as well. And when you pretty much stop doing that on a massive scale in Britain, then, well, they still were kind of an immoral society, but it was a greater improvement than before. The consequence of that were the fruits of scientific advancement that you see within the free market revolution of the 1600s onward. And I mean, it's not necessarily that simple, but that's a large part of it. And the idea there is, what do you call it? When you have a more moral system, the effects of that system will be positive. And I think that advancement advancement is positive. The increase in technology is positive. But that being said, technology itself is a neutral entity. You can use technology for intense good, or you can use it for intense bad. And I guess that's my point on that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I would say technology is not inherently neutral. I think there's good technologies and bad technologies. I think of course, like, you know, many of them are neutral. Like, you could look at nuclear power as one of these, right? You could build bombs, or you could build, you know, very efficient power plants. But I think there are some that are you know, objectively bad. I think some of these technologies might be, I don't know, the modern urbanism may be one of these things where people are forced to live in conditions that are, again, antithetical to human psychology, right? And perhaps, you know, it's not, and, you know, I would be a proponent of it's not worth it to the amount of psychological trauma. If you look at you know, mental illness rates, if you look at you know, suicide rates that are quickly increasing, if you're looking at you know, different, if you're looking at just all of these metrics of human happiness, right? Then, you know, you're not fulfilling that.
Yeah. Overall, very good.
With the current system, and I don't think that's immoral. If we have a system that is doing this to people, I think it's immoral to continue on the path that we're on, right?
Well, I wouldn't say that the modern urbanization is a product of technology or just natural technological progression. You have to understand why cities are planned out the way that they are. And a part of it is a huge part of it is due to zoning laws, and that's one aspect. But having zoning laws and other demographic effects on cities, which we might talk about later. But zoning laws. Okay, you have to understand how cities were built in the past, in times where people were far happier and were far more content and had actual communities. In these societies, zoning. There weren't any zoning laws. People built where they pleased in the way that communities naturally formed, where businesses were within communities, and the population of these communities were necessarily smaller, and they were kind of balkanized from each other. Like you had one community which had a certain group of people, and they saw themselves as a community. And then you had, if it was a large city, you would have other communities, and you can kind of see this.
Like in Paris, it's divided into neighborhoods, which each has its own governmental structure. I'm trying to remember what they're called. They're like arrondissements or something like this. I don't remember. Somebody who knows French would know. But that's a good system, because you have to understand what makes a community, like what's one aspect of a community that we lack today. The fact that people walk around to get their food, to go trade with other people, to buy their things, and that's one thing. Like when you have to understand how zoning laws work, actually, first. Modern zoning laws in America, they require businesses to be inherently separate from what do you call it? From neighborhood sectors. So if you're a business, you have to build your business in a business zone, and then you have to build your residential areas within a within what would you call it? A residential zone. So you end up having these huge, just miles and miles of houses, which people have no possible way of communicating with each other, like realistically, and it's just insane. Like just suburban nightmare cityscapes, where. I mean, you can understand where that goes wrong. Yeah, it's wild, dude.
And plus, there's nowhere to go. Like there's no reason to leave your house, because think about it. I need to go to the store. I'm just gonna get in my car and go other places. Like here's one of the ways that cities were designed. They were designed for cars. They were designed. We're gonna have this efficient allocation of businesses here and an efficient allocation of residential places there. We'll just have a highway system that connects them all. And that is a awful way to design a society, because, and you have to understand, bureaucrats think that they know what's right, and then they do it, and then everyone pays for it. That's a constant in the government. It's a constant. You can't name a program that hasn't had an unintended consequence, or has made the problem that they were trying to solve worse because of some brilliant idea by some dumb bureaucrat. But yeah, that's.
Well, yeah. Have you seen I know a few people who live in Castle Rock, Colorado, and I'm from California, like a kind of a suburban / rural area, and that was really new going to Castle Rock, because this town is something that basically was built in the span of 5 to 10 years, and it's insane, because there's like a hill in the center of the suburbs. You look on it and it's just a sea of the same house over and over again, as far as the eye can see.
New suburban.
Yeah, no,
they have a ton of those in California
wild,
too.
Dude,
it's insane.
It's wild, and then
the white flight housing units.
It's really crazy, because you got the basically only you only have chains. There's no small businesses. There is a small like downtown area that's the old town. That's part of the old town, right? It has a few small businesses, but like for the most part, you have to drive 10-15 minutes to get to like strip malls forever. There's only strip malls with chains. It's
like that classic picture, the picture with the McDonald's, it's just a hellish gas station city stop with like the McDonald's and the gas station and like everything in the one picture.
Yeah. Like we, I remember going to only pretty much eating, except for In-N-Out, like eating at local areas.
Then you wanna.
What sauce is that?
Chick-fil-A, zesty buffalo sauce, and then I got my sugar water here.
What type of sugar water is it?
It's got the Dr. Pepper. I really do like the Chick-fil-A Dr. Pepper. Their mix in their machine is very good. The carbonation to syrup ratio
it's really, I'm digging it. When I was growing up, so it's just like going there for a few weeks before I went to college, right? That was like insane, because I was like, wow, imagine growing up here, like you have kind of nowhere to hang out. Like what do you even do for fun? Go to Dave and Buster's.
You should go to Los Angeles, man. Like, there's literally here's another big thing with modernity. Like, here's something where I think you're actually right. When you do have this insane increase in technology, which lends itself to insane population growth, you do. You end up displacing nature, and nature, I think, is a crucial part of human existence. And what you see in places like what do you call it? What's it called? Los Angeles and such are that what do you call it? Nature is completely gone. It's vanished from there, and I think one reason for this could be the fact that people don't really, or the cities were designed without caring about that, or it's like someone just checked off a box. Oh yeah, we want nature, and here's the park that we'll build for it, and then that's the nature. It's like a small little 100-foot park, like a mini park, and like I mean. I'd have to think about why nature isn't in cities very much, or what a way to solve it is. But I think that's definitely a problem no one talks about. You know,
it's definitely more. It's less cost effective than building things like seawalls or barriers. Like, San Francisco is quickly going to go underwater, or parts of it are.
Thank God.
And they could have probably. I mean, there's. In the Bay Area, we have a ton of marshes and brackish areas that are basically shield the place where I live from a lot of the effects of sea rise, because basically, these natural phenomenon cause the sea level rise. They basically are a barrier, right? Mm-hmm. It's insulation against the sea, and if San Francisco was built, more sustainably, we wouldn't constantly have to build higher. We would just have kind of like a barrier for the city. But hindsight's 20/20. But hopefully in the future, when we understand that there are ways that we can utilize nature and other natural phenomenon. And this isn't just because I like nature because it makes me feel good. It's simply because it would be more efficient to have something like this than a seawall that you have to rebuild in roads every now and then, right?
And also, you need a frontier. Like the modern man does not have a frontier. Like in some places they do, in the rural sections, but the city dwelling Coomer does not have any frontier, and thus their minds are their worldview is shallow. It
is only Coom.
Yes, it becomes the worldly pleasure instead of the soul expanding spirit of the pioneer, and that's what America's founded on.
Yeah.
I mean that's literally what it's founded on, and it's sad that we've lost that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now the internet is kind of like that, but
yeah, one of my buddies not buddies, but I think I follow him on Twitter. He was talking about how he's works in education in New York City, and a lot of the kids they didn't think mountains and books and stuff and paintings and drawings, they didn't think those were real things, because they've never really left the greater urban area.
Jeez.
In their life, and it's that's probably how we're gonna look at the future, is that there's going to be very little frontier and open space necessary for well turned out life.
Well, I don't think, no, that's not true. You have to understand the actual spread of people within let's say America. It's actually very, it's not dense at all. The population density of the United States is super low. we live upon strips of highway, and we don't go far out from that highway. There's a lot of unused land.
Well, even on the highway, you drove out here from Southern California. I drove out here from like Northern, and like, dude, it's wild.
There's a ton of unused land, and unless the world becomes an ecumenopolis, or people really start becoming desperate for food, which I don't think they will, then what do you call it? You're probably still going to have the frontier. Just the proximity to you will decrease, but I think with future advancements, you probably will be able to match the urbanization effects of that. By like being able to like to get into like a flying car or something and go 400 miles to go to those pioneer centers. But here's one huge thing that prevents the frontier. Not just the proximity, but the fact that you literally cannot do it. Because every place that you can go is claimed land, or some public land where you can't leave the trail, and you can't step here, and you can't pick up rocks, and you can't do this. Like here's the thing. If you
I don't know, bro. Have you ever been to like a national park? Like,
okay. There's some.
Do a lot of shit.
I'm talking about like what I know from California.
You can get away with a lot of shit. Not that I would condone it. Don't do anything bad in a national forest, but you can get away with a lot when you're very far away from a lot.
Okay. Well, national forests are different. National parks are. Also, but here's the thing. When you own like when you own private land, but you aren't using it, then you don't really own it. Like if you own a forest, and then you're not letting anyone use it, not letting anyone go on it, you're not building anything on it, then that's not private. You don't own that land. The government just says you own it. Says you, and you don't own that land. That's public land. Until someone, what do you call it? What would you say?
I don't know, dude. Like if I have a gun and I say it's my land, and I have the means to do it, and you have no means to take it from me. Are you gonna? It's effectively my land.
Well,
right?
No. Okay.
Like maybe it's not like abstractly, like ideally my land, right? Maybe it's not morally my land, but effectively it's my land, right? This is the same phenomenon that countries have with, like places like Antarctica or Greenland.
Well, if it's your backyard and you have the gun and you're right next to it, then sure. But if you're like 100 miles away and you claim this thing and it's legally yours, then it's not yours. But like you have to be an active. You have to be active in the ownership of property in order for it to be your own. That's what I'm saying. Like sure, if you're actively defending it, then yes, it is your land. But if you're not, if you're just, oh yeah, this is my land, then I mean you understand what I'm saying here, right?
Yeah, I mean to a certain degree, right? But I mean, what else? Where are my nuggies? So yeah, I got the nuggies here, and you know, they're not as I don't know, the crust on them, or what do you call it, the breading? Not quite as crisp as usual. So I'm not a huge fan of that. But the chicken is tasting good today. I mean, I wouldn't say that invalidates like territorial claims to certain areas. I mean, like, I wouldn't say that means Russia doesn't own Siberia, because Siberia isn't, you know, like, to me, Russia, like,
well, who is Russia?
If I plant an American flag in Siberia and I live stream it, you're gonna see, you know, not good things are gonna happen.
Who is Russia? Man. Who is Russia?
The state, the entity.
Okay, well,
I don't know.
I don't think a state really.
They have the power to own it. So I mean,
well, okay. Let's talk about this.
Maybe not morally, right?
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay, sure. I wouldn't say morally they own it, but they can exert dominance. I don't think that's ownership though. That's like.
It's effective ownership, though.
Okay, that's pseudo ownership.
Yeah.
Real ownership requires a moral claim to the land, and also requires use.
Yeah.
Use or active participation in the land.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, let's say Russia was just some company, and if you decided to go into Siberia and then take over like an unused, like a house-size piece of land, you build your house, then they have no right to take that land. You have every right to use force against them, and yeah, well, I mean, right now, like that here's the point. That was, I think, that was the overarching idea that most people had up until fairly recent times. Like in the 50s and 60s, like I was talking with my grandparents. Like I was explaining, like, oh yeah, we went to a camping site and there were all these rules. You couldn't do this, you couldn't do that. Like we started a campfire, and then the people got really angry at us for starting the campfire. What are those people called? The people with the big hats.
Man. You have to consider the year and time and in the context of when the fire was being started.
This is in Colorado. It was in
Colorado.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, and here's the thing. I told them this, and then, geez, man, like their faces just fell, and they're like they became like visibly sad because like when they were growing up, their life, like the society was nothing like this, you know. It was more of like you could do what you wanted. As long as you were responsible, you could do what you wanted to do. And we weren't held down by all this regulation, all this red tape. You can't do this, you can't say that, you can't own this, whatever. Like you could go to a national park and you could camp out there, you could start a fire, you could do what you wanted. And I mean, that's one of the big things, the big things that defines our time, the lack of freedom. Freedom replaced with hedonistic freedom, which is saying, oh, I can do whatever I want, I can sleep with as many people as I want, I can do all this, I cannot have children, and then not expecting any consequences. Like, I mean, you get what I'm saying?
I forgot my wallet. So, overall, worth the money. Worth GOOSCAST's money, not mine, because I forgot my wallet. I forgot my wallet, right? But, fuck.
Any last words?
Like, every fucking time, dude.
Any last words?
Just, I don't know. Subscribe to GOOSCAST.